I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus, I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus, I was evil. I never shook, baby.
Say heroin a day will turn you into a heroin addict.
Yeah, that's right. I've heard that. My grandma told me that. Yeah, that's some ancient wisdom right there. Yeah,
you should make sure to add more of it to your drink there.
Well,
do you think anyone's ever? Do people drink heroin?
I'm sure someone's done. I'm sure someone's done it, but it doesn't seem like to be like the main thing.
Yeah, because people are really creative with heroin.
Yeah.
I know that.
Did you ever watch that Tenacious D show from like the late 90s or early 2000s?
Which no, maybe
Jack Black and Kyle Gass.
Of course. Oh yeah,
but
big. We love Tenacious D stuff. I still love the show.
Yes, they had a show. I think it only lasted like 6 episodes on HBO or Stars or something. It was pretty short lived, but it was pretty funny. But it was just like short segments of them, like 15-minute segments of them, just like trying to make it
like sketch comedy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do remember, dude. Like I remember we used to like sit before basketball practice with just like all of an earbud in from an iPod, or like, sharing an earbuds with iPods, listening to the same Tenacious D sketches. Like I could probably recite the McDonald's order one from like memory, like a bunch of those. We used to listen to Tribute all the time.
Yeah.
Pick of Destiny was a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Like just the so I'm sure I've seen the show or like the sketches from it. I just don't remember like it being a show necessarily.
It was basically kind of a sketch show. It was like a half-hour thing, but it had 2 short segments, and each one just kind of focused on them trying to become a band or whatever. But there was one where they're meeting up with this old hippie guy who runs like a record store, and then he's just telling them all these crazy stories about partying with rock stars in the 60s and 70s. And he goes, "Have you guys ever done cheese balls?" Like, what's cheese balls? And he goes, "It's cocaine with cheese."
Yeah. There's always people just like, why don't you just do it the old classic way?
But so to answer your heroin question, like, I'm sure someone's like, what do you mix heroin with a Slurpee?
Yeah. Well, I try and do a new vocab word every day and add it to a notebook and then review a page and try to build your vocabulary. And so I have it like I have words on a notes app and I do one of those every day. And those are just words I gather from, reading or listening to podcasts or whatever it is. Just like life.
Yeah.
And so I don't know where this word came from, like what I got it from, but the word was boof. And I go to look it up and it's like doing drugs through your anus. I'm like, why is this on my vocab list? Like I must have read it somewhere and didn't completely understand it. So put it on the list. Like some of the words, like a lot of the words on the list are like, I'd say it's a mix, but like some are just completely new words to me. And some are just like words like, oh, I know that word, but I just want to use it more. So like to write down, really have a more comprehensive understanding of it. So I'm like, where the fuck did this word come from? Like, why is this on my list?
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if that person got fired. There's like somebody snuck it in, or like maybe it was like an intern was like, hey, you get to do a word a day. Like,
no, it's not like an app. It's not like a word like you get an email. It was I make this list. So like I'm reading a book or I'm reading an article or I'm listening to a podcast and I hear the word or I see the word, I put it on the list. Yeah. I've done the whole because in those are words that I want to use or want to understand better. The word of the day stuff I used to get, a lot of those words I'm like, I'm never going to use that. Yeah, like I know that word or whatever it is, but anyway. So I've heard you've had some troubles out there in those here parts of California.
Oh yeah, it's getting biblical out here, man.
You guys are getting wet.
Yeah, it was just crazy. We had this crazy storm, and so luckily in my area we were not hit too bad at all. It was just kind of for like a day and a half. We had a lot of rain and a little bit of wind. Mm-hmm. We were struck with an earthquake, but I didn't notice it. I asked my roommate, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't feel anything." So
earthquakes in California, that's just a Tuesday.
I know, yeah, that happens all the time here. But
the rain was crazy.
Like it was highly unusual for sure.
That's what's always fun about. It's always fun. Like in New Jersey, we kind of get everything. Like, no, we don't get frequent earthquakes, but we get hurricanes, we get blizzards, we get tornado, like everything. So we are somewhat prepared for all of them in a sense, as much as you can be. But when like a weather phenomenon happens to a place that doesn't usually get it, it's just like bedlam. Like when I was in New Orleans, it snowed a little. And it's just everything shuts down. No one knows what's going on. It's absolutely insane. Like the whole infrastructure just cannot handle. It was like half an inch of snow.
Right.
And then like I remember in England a few years ago, maybe like 5-6 years ago, there's like a heat wave, and like people were dying. They're just not used to it. People were dying. Those pasty motherfuckers just could not handle the heat wave. So in California, it was like 2 inches of rain, and it's like that's the most they've had in 7 years.
Well, it's just weird because like a week ago it was like 90 something degrees, and then now it's like, oh, then you get a storm. And we're getting floods and shit, and it's like,
I know like earthquakes are scary and all that shit, but like I was imagining just what if there was an earthquake and just like Slayer came like out of the earth's crust, just like in the middle of raining blood. Like, how sweet would that have been?
Well, that would have ruled. But
that would have been a significant one.
Okay.
But, all right.
Yeah, I'm doing all right though.
Okay. What are we talking about today? Episode is this 90?
Yeah.
The big 90.
Yeah, you want to talk Richmond, north of Richmond? Yeah.
So I tried to ignore this for a while, but I couldn't because I'm a slut for these sorts of things. Online culture war shit. I added the song to my Spotify, and I actually really like it.
Oh, that's all right.
I think it's really good. At least I like the sound of it. I think the lyrics are obviously what's getting the attention. Some of it I totally agree with. I'm like, fuck you, brother. And then other of it, it's like, okay, it kind of seems silly. But I think the shit libs are doing themselves a disservice by giving it so much attention. It's like you guys are really arguing. Like it's called Rich Men North of Richmond. It was even like rich people. It was rich men north of Richmond, which obviously is like the DC, Virginia suburbs, Beltway area. And you're going to come to their defense. Like that's who you're going to do. Like what the fuck happened to the left?
I mean, they're so I didn't read all the lyrics. But
Rich Them's north of Richmond.
But I've got a few segments here. And again, like you said, some of it's kind of heavy handed. We're kind of like, okay, whatever. And the other parts were kind of like, that's hard to argue against. There's one I got here that I like here. So this is from an article in The Guardian. And of course, it has to talk about in a very condescending way. The lyrics also dabble in conspiracy, and it mentions the lyric, "I wish politicians would look out for minors and not just minors on an island somewhere," he sings, a reference to many conspiracy theories surrounding the crimes and death of Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just like,
conspiracy.
And it's also like, I agree with that. It's like, I wish our politicians did care more about
you're coming, like what The Guardian is such trash usually. And it's like, it's not conspiracy. That's like the most proven thing that's ever happened. Like conspiracies, you want to talk about, Pizzagate or whatever. That was a conspiracy, but he's not referring to just like child trafficking. He's specifically referring to Epstein's Island, which was like I don't understand what, like, that's what I'm saying. There are like what you can criticize the song for is like, that's the most sympathetic thing. I think like he's saying that our government should care more about children. Like that's what you're gonna attack in the song. These people are broken. Like they're just broken people. And anything that even this wasn't the like "fuck you, Brandon" song, which is like overtly anti-democrat, this. It's coded right wing though, which I don't think it generally has to be in many respects. I think it's just kind of a populist song. But liberals, or the liberals who write for publications like The Guardian, they are just antagonistic to any of this, and are just the most laptop pajama class in the world. I think The Guardian is, I'm sure it's the U.S., but I think they're a British site.
Yeah.
Just the most turn your nose up liberal progressive site in the world, and it's like at least make your criticisms more precise on something that more people could get behind. I think that's one of the most true things he says in the whole song.
I know I was like, yeah, I'm actually with him on that. Like,
Yeah,
it's funny that I mean, like besides Maxwell and Epstein, was anybody else prosecuted in that? Like, I thought there were like a whole bunch of rich people who just.
Well, Prince Andrew, I don't know, prosecuted it's the right word. He's like disowned, and I mean everyone like Clinton, Bill Clinton was there like 50 times. Bill Gates, like, so they weren't prosecuted. They were more like publicly. I guess like the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a chance that any of these motherfuckers went there and didn't receive some sort of sexual service from an underage woman,
right?
An underage girl, like a child.
Yeah,
there's not a chance,
right.
And what I always think is the most shocking thing about this, honestly, is that Trump was not there.
Yeah.
Like, out of all the fucking people, if there's anything that's going to take down Trump, it would have been this, and he wasn't there.
I know, yeah.
Like, you have to give him so much goddamn credit,
right.
Which is crazy. It's like, well, you don't give someone credit for not fucking minors, but like he's been a billionaire for 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, it just shows actually how much these people hate him.
Yeah,
They didn't get invited to Fuck Island.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
I mean,
wasn't there also a story too that Epstein went to like some Trump party or Mar-a-Lago or something, and then Trump actually had him like removed because he was being inappropriate or something? Like, I heard a story about
I can't
that.
speak to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. But
right.
Anyway, the criticisms, like, to me, the criticism more, I think, like the line about it's kind of like a throwback to like the welfare queen type thinking that I think used to exist a lot more. Like, we don't have a very good welfare system in this country, right. And I guess that's subjective. Saying like something about getting some sort of tasty cakes, that's not the word he uses, but on food stamps and stuff, it's like, I don't know, man. I just don't think people on food stamps are who you should be attacking, considering this is a pretty populous song. Like, a lot of those, like, to be honest, I'm sure a lot of like white rural people in Virginia and Southern Virginia are on food stamps and don't just buy like health food. I mean, let's be honest here. So I just think that was kind of silly. Where it's like, again, a few of these things are so populous and I think so good that lines like that just kind of feel like, oh wait, are you just like a regular Republican? Like,
his anti-government stance I'm more in favor of. When he starts kind of attacking poor people, it's kind of like, I don't know, man.
But like, you're saying how poor you are and your dollar doesn't go anywhere and you work your ass off. Like, that is a universal message that all types of people can get behind. I mean, he didn't say anything about race here, but that was always the stereotype. And I mean, welfare has been slashed for over 40 years. It really just, like, I think there used to be more of an argument back in the early 80s, 70s. So I just don't think that seems kind of like, all right, dude. But yeah, obviously just like the lines, like, I work my ass off and I'm not getting anywhere and I keep getting kicked down, like kicked to the side, and my dollar's not worth shit. Like, dude, everyone feels that. Tons, or like a huge swath of the population feels that. Like, why would you attack that if you're a publication? Like, you're just kind of showing your true colors, and you're one of those people who's like, oh, actually, like the actually liberal crowd, and of course that's just because they're a guy and like they're running more shit than anyone else right now. The Democrats have more power. The whole like, oh, actually the economy's not that bad, and if you look at this, it's like, dude, it's how people feel. And they don't feel good. And you can't, like, there's no other way to spin that. Like, it doesn't matter if you're saying, well, actually, employment's at the lowest level it's been, or unemployment's at the lowest level, and gas prices are coming down, inflation's coming down. It's like, yeah, but where's it been for a couple of years? And it's still high as fuck. And if you're a certain age or a certain income bracket, you have absolutely no chance of ever buying a house. And rents just keep going up. And I'm working more and taking home less, and you're going to be on the side against that. Like, that's a losing battle.
Absolutely. And again, like, the way the Guardian frames it. So the way the sentences are structured. It's like it has part commentary and then part section excerpt of lyrics. The song is part classic folk country working man's anthem. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, and part conservative mantra because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end. It's like, yeah, no, it's not just that should not just be a conservative mantra.
Yeah,
like, yeah, it is. It's not worth shit and it's taxed to no end.
Yeah,
and I love this part. In part grievance. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground because all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. It's like, like the loneliness epidemic that's affecting men. The fentanyl crisis. It's like,
drug
it's
addiction,
men,
suicide, depression, dropping out of higher education. I mean, that's why I think the whole Barbie talk, like the whole Barbie discourse, well, like Barbie just missed the mark so much on that, and I'm far from the only person who talked about it. It's like. Yeah. There are unique issues for different races and for different, transgender people and for women. But like just to say that, and everything's great for men. It's just like afactual.
Yeah.
This is not what's going on at all, no matter how you cut it. And it's men across races and even across like lots of different income brackets and rich, like even rich kids who have a lot of privilege are getting hooked on drugs and killing themselves.
Yeah.
And for that to be like a grievance is just like, okay, again, you're gonna fucking lose in the future because of this shit. Like this resonates with people.
Yeah.
And the right, and if you want to say this is right wing, I guess it's right libertarian pretty much.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going or this is very sympathetic to a lot of people.
Yes.
And this is like, you want to court this and understand anything more of it than just say like it's a grievance,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how you're going to win men over, right? It's like, yeah, men are just complaining. It's like, no, we're dying.
It's like every men or every demographic basically outside of like single women, single white women especially, are like went more towards Trump or going more towards Trump. Latino men are basically actually more Republican than Democrat now.
Yep.
And so overall, it's kind of like a 50-50 split where Democrats thought it was going to be, demographics or destiny. And just the more non-white people we have, the more it's just like not true at all.
Yeah.
Muslims and Hindus and Jewish, like Trump did actually better in every single demographic in 2020, except for like white men without college degrees, like his bread and butter.
That was the funniest thing.
Yeah. Like doesn't mean he's winning majorities, but
they all improved.
They all improved, and like even his worst demographic, which is black women, doubled. Yeah, it's still not a lot at all, but it still went up after 4 years of everyone saying how racist and how horrible and how fascist and how Hitlerish he is. He did better in every single one of these demographics. Like you're wrong about the grievances. Like you're wrong about these things. You have to court it and find better policies than just saying like, well, it's just not your turn. Like your turn's over, which is basically what Barbie said. Yeah. And that's why it was so funny. Like Barbie was just a matriarchy and discriminated against the entire other half of the population. Like that's what I thought was so inadvertently funny about Barbie. Like that was not supposed to be funny. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was going to be matriarchy, showed the issues with that. Patriarchy, showed the issues with that. Let's have an equitable society and talk to each other and figure things out and problem solve, and instead just went back to a matriarchy, which is hilarious. And it was just like one day you'll hold like some minor position. I'm like, oh my god, like that they're not joking. Like that's actually like how they feel. It's like, all right, let's see who wins. Like, like you guys are gonna lose, and I'm not even on the fucking Republican side. Like I'm not vote. I'd vote for Trump over Biden, but I'm not gonna vote for either of them.
Right.
But like I don't know. And the more he gets fucking arrested, the more his stock goes up. Because honestly, it's one of those things where it's hard. It's like people want to root for that. They see a system against you. Mm-hmm. They see a lot of these people who they also hate. Like that's some of the appeal of Trump is that they don't necessarily like him. They just hate the people who hate him. Yes. And it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Right, like in some sort of way, and they're like, "Fuck it." I like seeing. Honestly, it's when triggering the lips goes too far. That's kind of what's going on. That's how he got Trump. Yeah, he got addicted to triggering the lips.
Well, it's funny because like it seems like he's getting indicted on a weekly basis, and it's like all that's doing is keeping him in the press. Like it's just like
he loves it. I mean, Dude, if he goes to fucking jail, like if he's in prison and he runs,
No.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I kind of hope he wins.
Yeah, I might
If
actually vote for a
If
prisoner.
he's actually in prison,
Yeah.
that'd be fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
he won.
Yeah.
Because I like Eugene. Do you know who Eugene Debs is?
Nuh-uh.
He was a socialist candidate who ran. He actually did pretty well for a socialist.
Mhm.
And he ran actually from a prison cell at one point. And he did win 8 states, but he like did pretty good, like pretty notably for a third party.
Yeah.
And to be honest, at this point, I'm probably voting for Cornel West. Like, I'll just be honest about that. I was like, I'm gonna probably vote for the black socialist and then like Republican down ballot. Like, I think I might be the only person in America who does that. That's just how much I hate the Democrats. I hate them so fucking much.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can. But we got a while. We'll see. No. But if he's in prison running for president, I kind of like.
Well,
just because the reaction would be so amazing.
I know. Yeah. I might even vote for him just on the basis of that. It's just
and I think a lot of people would be like you.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, I don't know if this is gonna sound racist, but I think a lot of minority men would be like, I'm voting for Trump. He's in prison. The system got to him. Like, if they could get to him, they can get to anyone.
Exactly.
And I think he's pretty fucking guilty with Georgia, dude. I don't want to get into too much politics of it, but like a lot of the indictments were bullshit and like a stretch and totally political. The Georgia ones are pretty bad.
I stopped paying attention because it kept happening. So I'm like, until something happens.
Well, as someone who does, but I don't want to hear about Republican primary shit. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be fucking Trump.
Yeah.
Like, my guy, RFK is not gonna get the nomination. That's my guy.
I know. I like him. But
he's not gonna get it. I think it sucks. Biden fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit. Just let's just move on already. It's gonna be Biden Trump, and let's just move on already.
Yeah.
But so I haven't been paying attention, and a lot of it I think is pretty shitty. And it's like, this makes me want to vote for him more, but then the Georgia stuff's pretty bad. It's pretty corrupt and pretty bad.
Right. Well, getting back to the song from an artistic standpoint, there is something that I did like. Yeah. So in the line, I wish politicians would look out for miners and not just miners on an island somewhere. The first miners refers to coal miners.
Yeah.
And then the second one refers to miners, like as in small children. I was like, oh, that's actually some nice little like play on words there.
Now is that so? Do you think that I could read that as even being kind of a critique of Republicans? Like, it's you only. I mean, he doesn't say it explicitly, but you only care about minors when. Wait, what's the line?
I wish politicians would look out for miners and not just miners on an island somewhere.
Wait, I wish they would look out for miners and not just...
miners as in small, as in like coal miners.
So he's saying politicians are looking out for miners on an island,
and not just miners on an island somewhere. Oh, huh? Interesting. That second line, and not just miners on an island somewhere.
I thought the argument said politicians didn't look out for the miners on the island. Is he saying like look out for like they were fucking them because they were?
Yeah, maybe that's what he's trying to get at. This is just an excerpt from it, so I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, okay. Maybe I read that wrong. I thought it was like they only care about coal miners when it's like politically advantageous, like when it comes voting time, like
right.
But then they don't care about the miners on the island,
right?
Oh, I don't know. I think I get his point. Like I think I get what he's saying,
right?
But
well, anyway, it's funny that I mean, it is heavy-handed at times, but at the same time, it's like the left provokes this shit. So
it's nice to see art in like the discourse that is right wing.
Mm-hmm.
Like just from like a balance sake, like I think we had a lot of that in the 2000s. It was overly patriotic. Now, like looking back, it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a dearth of that since. And I think, I mean, I not just like right wing, I should say, but like protest.
Yes.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think there should be more of it. I also just I don't even really consider this country. Like it sounds more kind of like Americana.
Yeah.
Folksy. And I like that a lot. Where I don't like country. Like I can't stand stadium country.
Yeah,
Like, there's just that sound to it that makes my blood boil. I can't stand it. I'm not just trying to sound like a dick. Like there's a certain sound to that stadium country rock that I just can't handle.
Yeah.
But and I kind of thought that's what this was going to be. But because it's more raw and folksy, I think that lends it credence, and it's more like it's more powerful and something that resonates with different. Because I think I'm not like a lot. The joke is always like, I listen to everything but country. Like you kind of hear that a lot. When it's like, what kind of music do you like? And because it's not that, I think a lot of like I saw compilations of all different types of people listening to it. Yeah. All different types of races and genders, like men and women and black guys, and like kind of black guys huddle over a laptop, listen to it and bop into it, and getting into the lyrics. And because of that raw emotion, it can do that. I think right away, if they heard that country twang, they would just be turned off. Like we can't listen to lyrics at that point.
Yeah.
Bo Burnham does a whole funny song about country, like stadium country music. Have you heard it? It's really good. Oh, it's really good. Where he's like, they're amazing country writers like Johnny Cash and Dolly Parton. Like I'm not talking about them. Like those are songwriters and artists. But I was talking about like that kind of stand. He does that, and they all kind of sound like this. And these generic terms like a red truck, a cold beer, like those kind of words, and it all sounds the same. And he talks about how they're all just like wealthy millionaires, even though it's like boots that cost $900, and I don't know, but it's very funny, kind of ripping on that style of music.
Yeah, sort of achy breaky hard crap.
yeah, I guess that's is that Hannah Montana's dad?
Yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus. Yeah,
Hannah Montana. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about the song?
Yeah, one thing that I do think is kind of interesting, and kind of getting back to your point about the dearth of music and culture that caters to sort of middle America, right wing audience. So this song it debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and apparently this is a bit of a record. I think it's like the first, or at least one of the first songs to debut at #1 from an artist, from a new artist. So this is like his first release, really. And so it's like because there's so little of this, it instantly becomes audiences instantly flock to it, I guess. So
I think we've seen a lot of that with Sound of Freedom, and which I've heard is just beautiful propaganda, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
And especially, I think I like when there's a boycott against something I dislike. Like I said, I don't, like I've said 1,000 times, boycotts are not cancel culture at all.
Right.
It's consumer power, and I think that's different. Like you can do whatever you want, and when you do that in mass, that's just what a boycott is. But I think that's exactly what we're seeing, is that people are just kind of craving this sort of stuff, and just kind of saying what a lot of people are feeling, and not being talked down to, and not being lectured, and also sounds good, like it's also good quality. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but that's why you find so many overtly right-wing people with open arms to people who are like not even right-wing, not Republicans, not necessarily centrist. A lot of times like left of center people who have just been like annihilated and eviscerated and censured. And you hear that all the time from like, you hear it all like, oh, I was a classical liberal, the Democrats left me, I didn't like Democrats, and the other side is so open to them. You see a little bit of that on the other side too, but I think that's a lot less. I think that's just a Trump phenomenon, where it's like any Republican who says anything anti-Trump, all of a sudden they're on MSNBC, like at the panel. Because they're the good Republicans who got us into all those wars and fucked over our trade deals and ruined the American labor force, and we're probably fucking on Epstein's Island. Those good Republicans.
Right.
No.
Yeah, the sort of like Rick Wilson of the Lincoln Project types.
Yeah, who were all pedophiles.
Yeah.
Who are like all
That's right. Yeah.
They're like all pedophiles. But they're anti-Trump, Joe.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
They're good. They're the good Republican. George Bush is a fucking war criminal. But he makes fun dog paintings now.
And he's friends with Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah, he says, so there's Michelle Obama's nuzzled up to him because he's one of the good Republicans. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking of Hollywood pushing away middle America and the more sort of traditionally minded. We got fucking Snow White.
Rachel Zegler.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that they didn't change White to like, Snow, woman of color or something like
Snow beige.
So this is from so Rachel Zegler. She is the new Snow White. Because Disney's run out of ideas, so they're just remaking
naturally.
Classic animated films into live action, and then wokeifying them. So she's gotten into trouble. So first of all, she is.
Wait, Joe, being an insufferable bitch isn't a good marketing strategy.
I wonder if someone from Disney has sent her, because this has been going on for a while, since she's been cast. She's made numerous like stupid comments. It's like, has Disney like sat her down like, hey, can you stop doing it? Can you just be just be positive? Just talk about how great the movie is.
Yeah.
You don't have to trash the old one. But it's like she keeps trashing the old one. So first off, of course, they had to cast a Latina to play a white
she's
character.
Polish. I think I don't get why it's always the default is the darker color. Last name's fucking Ziegler.
Yeah.
Like okay, but fine.
Well, so Snow White was a Brothers Grimm story, and she was even described in the original story as having skin as white as snow. But it's okay, fine, it's fantasy, so we don't have to be beholden to historical accuracy. But again, if this was like we auditioned 200 actresses and she was the best one, and she just happened to be Latina, fine. But that this was politically motivated. So, let's get someone who's not white to play Snow White. So here's the thing. So since then, the 22-year-old Zegler has caused a stir when a flurry of comments from late last year recently resurfaced that suggested she didn't like the original film and that the new movie would take a very different approach to the iconic character. She's not going to be dreaming about true love, she told Variety in September. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
So can I heard a lot of her comments, and then she has been catching a lot of flack, and I think that's good. I think she sucks.
Yeah.
This actually kind of makes me sad. Like not from an artistic perspective, but like true love. Like what the fuck is life for?
I know, yeah.
But like what? Like true love. I shouldn't say that. Like there's a lot of great, life has you can create art, you can experience art, you can accomplish things. Of course, make connections with people and have I mean, it bothers me that why is true love a bad thing?
I don't know. And it's not just exclusive to females.
It's like it's like one of the joys of life.
Yes.
To find true love. And if she said like maybe we would go about doing it differently, it was very fair. Like we understand it's a fairy tale, but they like a kiss when she's asleep, or is that Cinderella? I forget. I think that's a common theme. Sleeping Beauty.
But it shows up a lot in fantasy.
It shows up a lot. Like we just want to change that a little and tweak it, but like to say she wants to be a leader, like my God, like that's what's important.
Yeah.
Like, and true love isn't important because guess what? By the time like you become something, if you reach the pinnacle of success in whatever field that is, whether you're some cutthroat CEO or the president of the United States, or whatever the fuck it is, like it's going to be a sad and lonely existence when you're no longer in that position.
Yeah.
Or even when you are in that position. Has like not every single movie from the 80s and 90s taught us that you should pick like family and love over your corporate job. That was like the lesson of every single kid's movie.
Yeah.
For 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
And now it's like the girl boss. And then to be honest, I'll give them credit. Jezebel did an article on them. And of course they rip a little on like the race stuff, which I didn't even think of that. Like Snow White, fairest of them all. I know fair, like whatever.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, she's meant, Ziegler's meant to piss off everyone. Like Disney adults, people who like think she's getting feminism wrong. Like, no, feminists like also want to find true love.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to be chained to a stove necessarily, like,
right.
But they want to find true love and also accomplish things in life, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And for her to shit on that just shows like she has the privilege of not actually being a leader in anything because she's a fucking actor.
Yeah, she's 22 years old, and so it's like,
oh, I didn't know she's that young.
She's super young. So if anything, like that also makes me a little sad too. Where it's like, man, she's just a kid. She got sucked into some stupid ideology. You know, the human brain doesn't fully develop until you're at least age 25. So it's like she's just kind of latching on to like whatever's around her, which young people do. So part of me does feel bad. It's like, that's a lot. That's a young age to be getting this much flack for a bunch of shit. But at the same time, it's like,
well, it wasn't like she said one thing and then someone's like, hey, cool it. Yeah. Like this is our like the son of the director for the original movie is giving her shit. It's kind of like where's like I have to imagine that this like she was in West Side Story, like she's I don't have a household name now, but a big actress. Like she has to have a PR team, right?
Yeah,
or at least someone in her ear. Like where's the fucking professional in the room?
Yeah.
Just from a business perspective. And why isn't someone at Disney getting on the phone with her and being like, cut it out?
Yeah, seriously.
Like if you can't be positive, don't open your fucking mouth.
But that chick, Kathleen Kennedy, who runs Lucasfilm, she's said a lot of stupid shit. And I guess if like she can get away with it, I guess Rachel Zegler can get away with it.
What has she said?
Well, she wore that shirt like the future is, or the force is female.
It's so gay.
I know, it's so fucking lame. But it's just like, I don't know. Like I bet you like the same person who came up with like, let's get a trans person to represent Bud Light probably also worked for Disney as well.
I want to talk about that too, because that's been in the fucking news since May. Bud Light still hasn't recovered, and they probably, or it's not Bud Light, it's Anheuser-Busch, probably won't recover. I actually followed their stock for this reason. I don't own any, or at least I don't think I do, unless it's in like a mutual fund or something. But like, what gets lost in that, I think, is it wasn't just the trans. I mean, she is a trans activist, but like there was one can, it was one promotional thing. It wasn't like she was gonna be in commercials and on the Bud Light 30 racks or anything like that. I understand that and there's criticism for that because it's not just a trans person, it's a trans activist, and she said really weird, annoying shit. Yeah. To me, the biggest part of that whole story was a marketing I don't know if it's executive or the team or someone in that whole group. They explicitly said, we want to change our customer base, and ripped on their very loyal customer base that they've courted for 30
How many
years,
fucking decades? Yeah.
And they're saying they don't want the frat boy or like basically blue collar, like any of that image anymore. It's like, that's what pissed people off.
Yeah.
And I think people who are even rightfully criticizing Anheuser-Busch are leaving that part out. That's the part that should be getting the most attention, and is the actual good reason that people have boycotted it, is because they shit on their customers.
Exactly.
And if you're going to be a business and you're going to shit on this wasn't just they miscalculated the precision of casting their wide net and tried to get in like the LGBT community, a term I fucking hate, but try to do that. And also they're like, no, they wanted to pivot. Yeah. Which is really fucking dumb. Yeah. And also was very condescending. And I just am annoyed that every time I hear this discourse come up, that part is like most of the time left out. Yeah. Yeah. I drink Miller, so that's why. So I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like I wonder if that's what Disney's doing. But then again, it's like, I don't know. It seems like most of their audience, because like the Disney princess was like, that was like a female only thing. So I don't know why they need.
What do you think? What Disney's doing?
I wonder if they're trying to like do the same, like alienate their audience and pivot towards a new audience.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
think
it's just stupid marketing.
I think it's just like those that marketing team. They were like fired from
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch, and they, they have apologized and they fired. Like I don't think any. I even heard. Do you know who Kevin O'Leary is?
Sounds familiar.
Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank.
Oh yeah.
I think that's his name, Kevin O'Leary. I might be getting
Yeah.
the first name wrong. He has said like he would teach a class, or he's going to teach a class or something at Wharton or some high-end business school about like basically not doing this, like how to not antagonize your customer base. And like I just think, and I fucking finally hope, I know I say it like every other episode, but like I don't need Chips Ahoy tweeting about Georgia voting rights. I don't need the New Jersey Devils, my hockey team, tweeting about Kyle Rittenhouse. Just stick to your shit. Like stick to like, and it became this thing where all these companies have to take on the latest issues. It's like, no, you don't. Just make your shitty prepackaged food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just play hockey.
Right.
Like we don't need to hear it. And I'm glad, because this one, I think this broke a lot of, I think we are going to see a pivot more. I mean, this is the first time in how many years did we see Pride stuff coming down from places? And again, Pride like shouldn't be overtly political. And if it's just like, oh, we support this, but it has become, I would argue that's a lot because of, some more trans stuff than typically gay stuff. But like, it's gotten, it has become very much a virtue signal and I do think a pivot that people are saying, okay, fine, I'll get my coffee somewhere else.
Right.
Not very hard to find coffee in this country. Or I'll buy a different brand of beer. Like we have more beer choices than we've ever had before. And I think it's crazy because there are like I'd say Coca-Cola has such a loyal following. I do think some brands like Nike and Coca-Cola, like they can get away with it. Yeah. Nike is Nike. I do think they have a more progressive and especially minority, not that those things always overlap. I think very often they don't, but in terms of like the superficial kind of sports side of it, they're very open about like, we're working with Colin Kaepernick, we're on his side, that kind of stuff. Right. They can get away with it where other ones, you can't, especially when your base is already something else. You want to pivot. All right. Start from scratch, start from the bottom and see if people in Brooklyn gay bars are going to be ordering your Bud Light. Like they're just not. Yeah. Where the guys who are, in Queens even, or other parts of Brooklyn are, because they always have.
Do you think, like the Daily Wire will come up with their own like princess, like there'll be like a Daily Wire, like the Daily Wire princess will become? Like,
I know
it's like alternative to Disney funny. Princess.
Yeah, but then that one would be like she'd be like a expert marksman, like and like be able to gun rights. I mean, in fact, some of it would probably be there is like a horseshoe feminism when it comes to right-wing stuff too, and like should probably be very self-sufficient, can hunt and build a fire and create shelter, and also like technically doesn't need a man, but also is fine having 3 children. And can cook a mean roast. Like, so there, and I actually think that's a much stronger and better and more empowering feminism. Who also wants true love. And there is sort of that, like, you could have it all, but maybe doesn't want to be a CFO of BlackRock. Like, I don't know, who's ruining people's lives all over the Sun Belt because they're buying entire neighborhoods and turning the country into a land of renters. Not to get off topic here. I'm just saying the whole like girl boss thing, which is even a term Jezebel uses, is like, that's very like 2015. And I think played out, and I think should have died with Hillary Clinton. Even though unfortunately she's still alive. But is a very unappealing goal to have in life. Like I think I was reading the New York, I like to read a few, like I read Jezebel, read the New York Post, or like different ones. One was like, instead of being woken up by a kiss from Prince Charming, Snow White wakes up from a WhatsApp message from her shitty job she hates, where she's like middle management, a shitty job. 4 hours of sleep after a mandatory, happy hour with their girl boss. Like,
I got another obnoxious quote from Zegler. Zegler?
I don't know. I don't care.
People are making these jokes about ours being the PC Snow White, where it's like, yeah, it is, because it needed that. It's like, oh god. She told Entertainment Weekly, the original is extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with the guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time. It's like, Jesus Christ, like,
what is the story of Snow White? That's the apple. I'm getting them all fucking confused because I was thinking the dragon one.
Yeah,
that's Cinderella, right?
I think so.
Snow White is who's the enemy? Who's like the antagonist in Snow White? The witch.
Was it Maleficent? Or
no,
this that
oh no, that lady. Is. Wait, it is the old lady, but she's also Maleficent, right?
I think so.
Which also became a thing recently.
Yeah.
Dude, did I show you that picture I took? I was on the Parkway, and like I guess it kind of shows like I guess every property, like every IP has their super fan. Like this was a decked out Jeep Wrangler and like Maleficent ephemera. Yeah, it had like a big portrait of her on the back wheel and had like quotes in the rear in the back window and just like everything Maleficent. I'm like, I think that's great. Like, love what you love, but of all the things to deck your car out in, like that was a very surprising one to me.
That's bizarre.
It's kind of like back burner fairy tale.
Yeah. So I have here a quote from the son, who was also the son of a man of the guy who was one of the directors of the original Snow White.
Son of a man.
It's a whole different concept, and I just wholly disagree with it. And I know my dad and Walt would also very much disagree with it. He called it a disgrace that Disney is trying to do something new with something that was such a great success earlier. Their thoughts are just so radical now. They changed the stories, they changed the thought process of the characters. They're making up new woke things, and I'm just not into any of that. I find it, quite frankly, a bit insulting what they may have done with some of these classic films. There's no respect for what Disney did and what my dad did. I think Walt and he would be turning in their graves.
Well, Walt would also be like, she better not be a Jew. So I don't know if that's always the best metric, but of course. And I think that term it's not PC. You're not being PC. You're being like overtly like ideological.
Right.
Like that's not being politically correct. Politically correct would be like you're not offending anyone.
Right.
I mean, no one was offended by Snow White to begin with.
Yeah. Well, we can think of one actress who was apparently.
Well, I don't think she was offended. I don't know. Maybe. Again, I haven't seen this in a very long time. Yeah. Also, another quote. She basically is like shitting on her co-star. The guy. She's like, "Oh, all of his scenes could get cut." It's like, "Oh yeah, that's what you want to hear." From like it's unfortunate because she's 22, like you said, and she's already like a harridan bitch.
Yeah.
Like this like vicious harpy that my guy. Is she dating anyone? Like she would. I mean, good luck. She's very pretty, so I'm sure she won't have a problem. But she sounds just miserable.
She's just like a protege of like Anita Sarkeesian or something. Like just
who's Anita Sarkeesian?
She's the Gamergate chick. We've talked about her before.
Oh yeah. I don't know enough about her.
Just like like this leftover from like the Tumblr, feminist days of 2012 or 2015 or whatever. Of just
who she should play.
Who?
She should play AOC in the inevitable.
She kind of looks like her.
She would totally be AOC.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can see it now. She is like the AOC of Hollywood. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. She also looks a little bit like her. It's like, yeah. So I'm.
Well, they're both strong Latinx women, Joe. Women-X.
Yeah.
AOC says to use Latinx, so I do it.
Yeah.
She's my queen.
There was a video that she released years ago. That AOC released years ago, and it was her and her fiance. I don't think they were married at the time, but like this chubby like white ginger dude, and it was like so what are some things that white people can do to fight racism? And he was just like, well, I think that white people can do a better job of acknowledging their privilege, and he's just spouting all these.
Yeah.
But it was Bridget Phetasy.
Yeah.
She commented on this. She's like, "Yeah, this looks like a fucking hostage video."
Oh my god, I can't and I kind of, when I was a shitlib, I kind of had a little crush on AOC. Like there was a dance, that video of her dancing to the Breakfast Club song when she was in college. I was like, oh, she's cute.
Yeah,
she said some good things. Then she just became insufferable.
Yeah,
but that's like a common theme with all these women.
Yeah,
they're all married to or dating white guys. Like literally, Cori Bush, I think Cori, like Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar like left her black Muslim husband for a white guy. I think a white Jewish guy, maybe. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I think Rashida Tlaib might be with a white guy. AOC.
No.
I mean, through endurance we conquer, Joe.
Yeah. Oh man. Well,
I don't know if all those women are with white guys, but
I would not be surprised.
We're around.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna.
Yeah.
You feeling okay? A little gassy?
Yeah. Yeah. That heroin smoothie.
Yeah. The heroin smoothie.
Does that to me sometimes.
I don't know that seems like it hasn't kicked in yet. You may need to add some more. Some more H.
Yeah.
More horse, as they call it on the streets.
Yeah. So did you want to get something off your chest?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
So unfortunately I watched Asteroid City recently.
More like Hemorrhoid City.
Hemorrhoid City?
Yeah.
Hemorrhoid City. Probably would have been a better movie. So here's the thing. I really like Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I love his we love a director who has a style. Like I love a director whose movie I can watch and I know right away it's his movie or her movie. I can't think of any female directors I could do that for right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a misogynist.
Yeah.
But Wes Anderson's definitely one of the most recognizable styles.
Absolutely.
Kind of that dollhouse, everything's centered, lots of bright colors.
Yep.
Knick-knacky, wacky ephemera, and quirky humor. This was not a good movie. I'll cut to it. Asteroid City. I'm gonna read the review. It's not very long. Like it's weird. Sometimes when I hate a movie, I actually kind of did hate this movie. I really don't like a movie. Sometimes I write super long reviews, or sometimes I write very short ones. It's on the short end, so I'm gonna read it. It's not like my Barbie one was pretty long. And I actually really like that movie. So Asteroid City. I viewed Asteroid City 2 days before writing this review, and I can't remember a thing about the movie. I'm a Wes Anderson fan. I love directors who have an immediately recognizable style. I'm a sucker for typewriters and mid-century modern architecture and silly names. This movie is a belletristic slog. Of course, it's a star-studded cast with many of the usual names: Schwartzman, Jeffrey Wright, Ed Norton, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, etc. But at this point, recognizable actor after recognizable actor splashed on screen becomes more of a distraction than a delight. It would be more pleasurable to watch this movie on mute and just enjoy the visuals while contemporaneously listening to some music or your favorite podcast. It's an infuriating watch. So I couldn't tell you what this movie's about. It was just soulless and vapid and boring. It was actors in making silly, like Ed Norton with kind of a thick, I don't know if you'd call it like a Great Plains accent or kind of Southern. Maybe it was like a Southern. Reminded me of like a William Faulkner. It's probably like more of a old Southern gentleman accent.
Right.
I don't know what William Faulkner sounded like, but I imagine it sounded like this.
Well, it's a little bit like Abe Lincoln, had sort of a George Washington thing going on.
What was that from?
I just made that up.
Oh.
It's like the accents of dead people. We have no idea.
Yeah. Imagine what if Abe Lincoln had like a staccato voice. Can you imagine? So anyway, I was upset because I was looking like this movie checks so many boxes for me superficially. I'm such a whore for mid-century modern architecture. Sure. Like I want to go to Palm Springs really badly. I love that look. I love the posters from that. I love the space age. This had an alien in it. It had space age. Like that's what it was. It's like what the movie fucking was. I love that time in American history. Early 50s. I think it was 55. That like early 50s, late 40s, Roswell, all that shit.
Yeah.
And so because I think I had high expectations and I like Wes Anderson, I was really excited about it, and it was like not just a letdown. Like French Dispatch, similarly, you know how much I love Paris.
Yeah.
And again, it's the same list. I'm a Chalamaniac, so Timothy Chalamet, Owen Wilson. It was in France, of course. It was a newspaper writers and smoking cigarettes and the click clacks of typewriters. Like, I fucking love that shit, man.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a little bit of a letdown, but I still really like. I went and looked at I gave the movie an 82.
Okay.
Like, I really liked it. This movie's bad. This is a
Yeah.
bad movie, not just a letdown.
I heard it was him. It was Wes Anderson, basically like on autopilot, where it's just sort of like, it's going to check off all the usual things that I normally do because my fans love this. But other than that, it seemed like it was kind of all over the place. I heard it was a big mess. So.
I get like, I don't even know if all over the place. Like, yeah, I guess it was all over the place because he always has ensembles.
Yeah.
Because he's Wes Anderson. So he gets Scarlett Johansson. He gets Bill Murray. I don't think Bill Murray. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are A-list celebrities you don't even remember. Like, are they in this movie?
Yeah.
Like, it's Ed Norton, of course, has been a couple of his.
Yeah.
And I like Grand Budapest Hotel is probably my favorite Wes Anderson, and that's probably a top 50 movie for me, maybe even top 30. I think it's Ray. I love Ray Fiennes in that movie. I really like Moonrise Kingdom. I like French Dispatch. I like Rushmore. I haven't seen The Royal Tenenbaums in a while, but like most of his movie, I like, or I haven't seen. I love, I like, or like I haven't seen. I think this is his worst movie. He needs to. I guess wherever you read that review is right. Like, it did feel like autopilot.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I don't want to say it's his most Wes Andersonian movie because it was, I think, missing some things that you like. At least I don't think. Again, man, this is one of those movies where it's hard for me to like stay off my phone.
Yeah.
And like, I really liked. I think it's. I want to enjoy it, but like, I was just gravitating towards my phone. And of course, you might be saying like, well, that's why you missed it. She's like, no, I tried to focus.
Yeah.
I didn't give a shit what was going on. It was like the usual precocious young child who, I mean, they're like typecast now, and it's the same shit. And this had nothing to it.
Yeah. Oh.
And it seemed like such a waste.
That's a bummer. I mean, I'll probably watch it at some point.
Yeah. Do you like Wes Anderson?
I do. I've only watched 3 of his films, but I really enjoy them. I watched Bottle Rocket, was his first feature.
Yeah.
That was a cool one.
I watched it a few years ago. I liked it.
Yeah, that's
not
cool.
my favorite, but I liked it.
The Life Aquatic.
I have that on my list, actually. I don't think I've seen that in a very long time, or if I even saw all of it.
I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then The Fantastic Mr. Fox.
That I've not seen. No. Okay.
Yeah. But I in general, I like his style a lot. I think he is very much a one-note director, but he plays the note very well. It's a very good note that he plays. And so like usually for stuff like that, I'm usually pretty forgiving for directors who have like such a distinctive style and repeat it. But from people who generally like his stuff, who find it kind of repetitive. I'm also kind of like, yeah, but there are a lot of directors who you would not be able to tell, or it's like they have such a bland style. Like I'd rather see a very distinctive, unique style that they repeat than a director say, okay, you're just a hired gun. You're just putting the camera there, and then you're getting.
He's an artist. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a fucking art. And of all the flack that we give just like mainstream bullshit nowadays, like I feel kind of bad ripping on this.
Yeah.
But he's also like he's fucking Wes Anderson. Like he can get all these actors. It feels like it's getting to the point where people just want. I mean, you know how everyone just like does Marvel movies now, or like everyone can just be in that. He's one of the few actors where it's like people just want to be in a Wes Anderson movie, and it's saturated. It's overload. Bryan Cranston was in this one, and this was like some story within a story, a play within a story, weird shit. Bryan Cranston was kind of being some who was the host of The Twilight Zone?
Rod Serling.
Yeah, like that kind of black and white, dark voice talking into the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? It was unfortunately, it was very bad.
Yeah.
I gave it a 52.
Oh.
Just very, very low.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's very low for me. Like, I feel like I gave Flame and Harrison gave like a 43 or something. The movie sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen some pretty bad movies too. You know what I'm going to watch tonight, though? I'm afraid it might suck, but I'm going to watch it anyway. I'm trying to watch as many like 2023 movies while we're still in it. So that when we get into Oscar season, I'm watching watching stuff that's up for nominations. And I like to have a big list at the end of the year. For them. But I'm watching. It's called Space Wars. The Quest for something. It looks like very low budget sci-fi. I'm pretty excited for it.
Okay.
I watched the trailer and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna watch it, and it might be fun.
When did this come out?
This year.
It came out this year?
It came out this year. Yeah, I'm trying to do more. Like, I'll sprinkle in old movies too, and I have like almost 200 movies on my list right now. But I am trying to do more. Like I said that last year, I was like, you know what? I got to the end of 2022, and the end of the movie year for me is the Oscars. Like that's so up to the Oscars, and I was rushing to watch as many Oscar nominated movies as possible. So now I'm trying to get them done. So like hopefully I've already seen a bunch by the time we get to the Oscars, and then just catching up then, and I have a good kind of taste of of the year, for instance. So I am excited for this. Might be something we talk about. Yeah, we'll see. Because hey, if it's good, it's only like 90 minutes, right? And if it's good, it's like, hey, this is a low budget sci-fi that rules. Sometimes low budget sci-fi, like low budget horror, can go the distance. Sometimes low budget sci-fi is not great. Yeah. Well, Space Wars, that reminds me of Hardware Wars. I've never seen it, but have you heard of Hardware Wars? I have not, no. I think it came in the late 80s or early 90s or something, but it was a remake of Star Wars, but it was all done with like household appliances. Oh, it's sweet. Yeah. Is it good? And I have not seen it, but I've heard very good like it is dumb, but I heard that it's very clever and like of taking like this guy just got a camcorder and remade Star Wars with stuff in his house, and so it's like it's very on the like. So this is called Space Wars: Quest for the Deep Star, and I like that. I think what drew me to it is like it's not like I love spaceships and lasers and all that shit, but it's also like something about like life is not over. Like you download your soul onto like a blue liquid or something. I don't know. I'm like, this sounds cool enough. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. Nice. Oh, and I just want to clarify, Hardware Wars actually came out in 78, so right after Star Wars, and it was only 13 minutes long. Yeah, let me look this up. Yeah. Hardware Wars. But it's become a cult classic. So yeah. All right, that sounds sweet. Yeah. All right. Should we end it on that note then? Yeah, we have Patreon. You should go check that out. Love your salesmanship, dude. It's getting better each episode. I think we're getting worse each episode. I know. Yeah. Oh yeah, but we got a thing. We're on Patreon. It rules, and we love you if you sign up for it, and you get free shit. Well, not free shit. You get shit that you paid for through the Patreon, and we have websites. Yeah. Yeah, we have. If you want to, I'm tired. Yes. So the Reckless Muse is also a Medium blog. So if you have some short stories or commentary, my movie review list is on it too. Oh yeah. Have you sent me a new one, or did you just update? No, it's been a while. I have a couple more to do, and then update it. Okay, cool. Let me know, and then I'll repostify it. Yeah, brother. Yeah. All right, Benjamin, stay reckless. All right, Jose, stay reckless. Fight the crits.